Happy Thanksgiving. I hope one out there is enjoying spending time with the family. Our Thanksgiving chill has moved in, and our winter storm up in the Northeast continues to unload some heavier snows, especially upwards into New England. And then the lake effect snow machine really kicks in. So let's take a look at the overall setup on the 500 millibar. There is the chillier air that's continues to funnel in off that cross polar flow. So if you live in this blue shaded area, you're definitely feeling the effects of that cool down, and there's more going to be on the table. But out west, you're going to be starting to dry out where you continue to move through that mid-latitude cyclone event, the very heavy rain off the west coast. It spread all the snows into the mountain ranges of the Rockies. That starts to subside and starts to die out, and you start to dry out across this region. But all eyes will be continued out east, and that's where they've got the colder anomalies with that low pressure continuing to deepen. Now, by the time we get into the afternoon hour, we're talking about a 996 millibar low pressure as it continues to crank the snow on the northern side, and that will last well into the evening, into tomorrow morning, along with that colder shot of air continues to plunge southbound as we head into your Friday morning. Now we're talking areas further south will experience their first freeze of the season as will be on the table. In fact, they went ahead and issued freeze watches for areas of Texas, places like north of Dallas, out here in West Texas. They're going to be experiencing their first freeze of the season. And further off into the east along the Carolina coast, they'll also be experiencing their first freeze of the season. But there we have our winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings for a good part of New York, into Vermont, as well as in New Hampshire, and especially into Maine, where I think they're just going to get crushed with very heavy snow. Notice these winter storm warnings are already taking shape along the lakes. That's what's going to happen on the backside of this event. Of the lake effect snow machine will be on full throttle as it gets going into tomorrow, but I think it continues over a 4 to 5 day span, and they're going to be measuring the snow in feet up there along into the Great Lakes. But heading into the afternoon on your surface map, there's the low pressure center off the coast of the Northeast. You got rain along the coast, and then the heavier snows, just big, fat, wet snowflakes up into New York, into Vermont and New Hampshire, especially into Maine. You got that cross polar flow type setups, and you'll have these clipper systems that come in on the backside, spreading some of that snow showers along its wake. But yes, as we head into tonight, we'll have that snow machine really start to unload across Vermont and New Hampshire, going into the Maine region. Now we're talking down to a 988 millibar low pressure. So that will continue to deepen as it lifts off into the Northeast, and those darker shade of purples, that's some intense 2 to maybe 3 inch per hour snowfall rates as we get into the evening time frame. In fact, this is the latest update on some of these snow totals that's going to unload, but really between now and tomorrow morning. So they're going to be picking up some pretty significant snows across New York. Anywhere in the pink zone, you're looking at about a foot of snow, if not some isolated areas, even more than that, into Vermont and New Hampshire, going into Maine. The entire state of Maine likely gets crushed with very heavy, intense snow. And at some point in the overnight hours tonight, where you could be looking at some 2 to 3 inch per hour snowfall rates up into that neck of the woods. And as this continues to come in, everybody's going to be feeling the chill tomorrow morning. So a good part of the U.S., about 75%, will wake up to a freeze for your Black Friday, for your shopping. It's the busiest shopping day of the year, folks. So definitely you're going to be feeling that cooler shot of air after Thanksgiving, and it's going to be windy for a good part of the U.S. as you're going to be experiencing those wind chills well into the freezing mark, if not the 20s further south, and of course the teens, and going into single digits further north into Minnesota, even below 0 up there into the Dakotas. But the cross polar flow is not going anywhere, folks. It's starting, and it's going to continue to funnel in for the east for much of next week, really. So as we head into the weekend, there's the colder anomalies coming in from British Columbia, following from the northwest down to the southeast, all areas across the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic, the Tennessee Valley, all the way down in the southeast, folks. Even into Florida, we're going to be experiencing this chillier air mass. And with that cross-polar flow, they'll have these little clipper systems that come along with it. So as we head into Saturday, there will be another clipper system. I think this is mainly going to be north of the I-70 corridor, but for those areas into, eastern areas of Kansas, Missouri, back into Illinois, Indiana, going into Kentucky, West Virginia, could pick up some snow with this little clipper system that comes in. But notice the heavier snow start to unload across the Great Lakes as the winds start to come around on the backside. And the National Weather Service out of Buffalo has already issued a high confidence of intense heavy snow that likely starts Friday morning tomorrow as we head into all the way into Monday morning. So this could be a 4 to maybe 5 day event, and they're going to be tracking the snow in feet up here, and it all depends on wind direction, White. So the wind direction is key during these lake effect snow events. But yes, there's going to be a sharp gradient where, inland you could pick up like less than 4 inches, and then you go all on the coast, we could be measuring the snow in feet, 2, 3, maybe even 4, if not even 5 feet. Not out of the question. Here is the latest projection from the National Weather Service. Yes, all these areas could be looking at some significant totals, and some of the bullseyes highlight 3 to 4 feet. I mean, this is the National Weather Service, folks. Usually they're fairly conservative in these estimates, so these are really bullish for their standards, approaching 4 feet that they're actually forecasting up here into. So, it's not a stranger for this, this time of year. This is November, so obviously these lakes are plenty warm. These are actually, if not record levels, I mean, they're about 51, 52 degrees. We've got, heat, warmer air on the backside, colder air underneath that creates with the perfect wind direction that creates that lift off the lakes and just dumping it inland with that cross polar flow continuing as we start the month of December for your first. That is officially meteorologically winter. That's when we keep tracking the data and all the stats go towards the winter. Yes, we'll continue to pull that cooler air. So across the central and eastern 2/3 of the U.S., you'll be experiencing those colder anomalies. Out west, say towards the Rockies, points westward into the southwest. Much of the west, much of the Intermountain West will be, on the average to above average side, and the drier side out there. So the cross-polar flow just continues, I think, into Monday and Tuesday. Again, we'll have these little sporadic clipper systems that come down from that cross-polar flow that come all the way down essentially into the I-70 corridor, maybe a little bit further south at times, but could be more snow putting back in the picture into Kentucky, into Ohio, back into West Virginia. So we start to see these sporadic snow showers will be coming along every day or two with these little clipper systems that come in on the backside, complements of that, that cross polar flow from the northwest, down to the southeast, and you'll continue to remain chilly. So, over the next 5 days, I mean, this is the coldest air of the season. I mean, obviously it's been pretty mild for fall, right? I mean, so this is an extended cool down for many areas across the lower 48, but especially for those areas into the central and eastern 2/3 points southbound. So mainly I-70 northbound will take the core of this, Arctic air, this polar air mass, and then the moderated version will sink further south, but you still stay below average for an extended period of time across the central and eastern 2/3. The change, I think, comes on Tuesday, right? So the change will come on Tuesday. We'll have a ridge of high pressure continuing to build out west, and as that kind of intensifies, that will slowly shift more into the central U.S. as we'll be watching a little bit of disturbance come in from the south. So that'll bring actually much needed precipitation all the way down into deep south of Texas. And that could likely spread into central Texas getting into the afternoon hours, as you can definitely see the predominant northwest flow continues to remain alive and well for points northeast of this line, because it's all about the jet stream, right? So the jet stream does buckle and dip. If you're under that buckle, you're going to be experiencing that, definitely that colder air mass. If you're not underneath that, that means you're closer to the ridge and the closer to the drier air mass and the warmer air mass, out west, especially like the desert southwest. But going into that Tuesday afternoon, you can definitely see on the, the overall, even some of these higher, about 5,000 feet aloft, the colder temperatures will start to sink down to the surface as well. So again, it continues to remain on the colder side for those same areas across the Ohio Valley, getting into the southeast. So, but we'll make that transition on Tuesday as the ridge will start to build, as it starts to creep into the central U.S. We'll start to feel the moisture. That means the south wind comes around. So it's not north anymore. It's likely south for the central part of the U.S. And that's a warmer wind. So we'll start building the moisture level, start building the cloud deck, and start elevating those temperatures at least at night. So that'll raise the overall average mean temperatures to above average across the middle part of the country, while continuing to watch these little clipper systems that come down. So even as we head into the middle of next week, as you'll start to warm up out west into the central U.S., we'll start to continue to remain on the colder side across the northeast and points of the mid-Atlantic into New England, with again another little clipper system likely unloading more snow across Wisconsin back into Michigan, and that will likely also funnel into the northeast into New England even heading into Thursday. So it continues to remain on the well below average side for across a good part of the central and eastern 2/3. It'll remain on the drier side for the western states. It'll remain on the warmer side for them. And then I think the transition happens on Tuesday, but especially into Wednesday, as this ridge will start to kind of take over, as we'll watch a little disturbance start to build further south. It will start to spread some of its much needed precipitation slightly northbound, and then we'll still get the snow continuing for the northeast. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update while I protect you before and after the storm.